A lot of people smoke when they're young, 11, 12, 13 years old. Sounds crazy. Have health warnings ever deterred you from smoking? Have you ever looked at a pack of cigarettes and thought, that lung looks disgusting, I'm going to put this cigarette down. I'm worried that I might get leukemia, so I'm not going to smoke. What about weed labels? I've worked in the industry for 8 years, and I should know all the health warnings, but I literally don't read them at all. And I'm not going to lie, some of these cigarette ads from the 90s and early 2000s go so hard. Like, that's the thing about cigarettes. They've almost got this 1950s Swiss type, the designer in me. Oh my God, the grid system, the graphic shapes, the red, white, black combo. But here's the thing. A lot of smokers, and I'm generalizing here, not all, but there's a lot of people who smoke where health is not their number one priority. Yet health warnings are focused all around health. So there's something interesting there. In 2023, Canada rolled out printing health warnings on the actual filters of the cigarettes. Cigarettes damage your organs. Cigarettes cause cancer. Cigarettes cause impotence. Cigarettes cause leukemia. Poison in every puff goes so hard. Like, that is a bar of a line. And there's something about the white with the stark black Helvetica that just looks, maybe I'm biased, like a designer dream. So if I was a smoker and I saw poison in every puff, I just don't know that it would deter me. Smoking kills. When somebody lights a cigarette, it might be a subtle reminder, but I just don't think it's enough. So then it really gets me thinking, what if warnings were driven by another emotion? What if health warnings were driven by shame? What would that look like? You smell like cigarettes and everyone notices. People notice, they just don't tell you. A little more subtle. Smoking ages your face. I think this is a good one. I think especially as women, there's so much pressure to look a certain way. And there's a lot of girls who are getting micro procedures to fix every little nuanced piece of their face. Smoking definitely ages you. That one would actually scare me, I think. Remember when you said you'd quit? Your date can taste it. Maybe there's a money angle. Think about how many dollars you've spent. I remember chatting with someone in the airport once who was a heavy smoker, and I asked them why they weren't buying a carton of cigarettes. And they said, honestly, I don't want to have that many cigarettes in my house, and I don't want to accept the fact that I will be smoking and consuming that many cigarettes. I will pay more to go to a convenience store so I don't have to deal with the shame of knowing that I will be consuming that volume of cigarettes. You're paying to smell worse? Now, what are cigarettes competing against? Because it's not vapes. It's not alcohol. I actually think it's loneliness, isolation, doom scrolling, stress, escapism, giving people a sense of control over their lives. For many, cigarettes are a daily luxury, a 5-minute break to step outside with your coworkers and socialize. But again, it goes back to the health warning labels. When you think about the smokers on the day-to-day, I don't think that health warnings, from a health perspective, are the number one deterrent. So what emotion would actually make people stop? The habit gets harder to notice every day. You're far past the habit of smoking. What would force you to quit? You're buying a feeling that doesn't last. You stink. To the point, direct. Symbolism and why a smoker starts smoking is not always the same reason as why they continue smoking. And I think that's what's really interesting to observe. A lot of people smoke when they're young, 11, 12, 13 years old. Sounds crazy. But why they continue is often for a different reason. Sometimes it's addiction, but sometimes it is habit, routine, stress response, all the reasons that I mentioned before. There are different aspects of smoking cigarettes, from the anticipation, the actual lighting of it, the beginning, the middle, the end, the aftermath, the sensory experience. A lot of smokers will say a vape is just not quite the same. And so I think it's really interesting how governments have chosen to put health warnings on. And whether or not they're actually effective. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 80% of the world's 1.2 billion tobacco users live in low and middle income countries. The highest total numbers of smokers by population count is China, India, and Indonesia. I think there's a lot to dive into with the concept of cigarettes. When I first decided to do a zine on smoking, it was funny, it was silly, daddy needs a cigarette. But the more research that I'm doing, I'm realizing there's a dark side to smoking. And we had a team collaborative meeting today, and we were talking about larger ways to integrate this idea into the zine. So whether it's starting off with pages that are brilliant white and over time they shift to a murky yellow. We were talking about starting the zine white and ending it black, organizing our information from flippant, frivolous, camp, all the way to demonstrating the real risks and harmful effects, from pop culture to a hospital bed. I mean, I know that sounds grim, but that's the reality, right? This is a very harmful thing that's legal. And a lot of people smoke cigarettes, and it's very normalized, just like alcohol is. But I think there's two sides of it, and that's why, as High Contrast puts the zine together, I want to tap into just that high contrast tension, the push and the pull. So I think there's something very interesting that we're going to be doing here. And we're going to be exploring the different topics, shame being one of them. I'm really excited to dive into this. I'm also excited to look at setting typography in long column widths reminiscent of a cigarette, or maybe short column widths vertically. And maybe there's a larger statement made about our short attention spans and doing column widths of 2 words. One of the things we talked about today was, can you imagine if the zine smelled like cigarettes? The way that you would infuse a cocktail with a smoky quality. Could you literally infuse a zine with a smoky quality by putting it into a Ziploc bag and having someone exhale smoke and zip it shut? I think there's a lot that we can do here, and I'm so excited to, again, continue to build this out. This is an update for this week, and I think what's interesting about the creative process is seeing how a project progresses over time. Creativity takes time to build and marinate, and I think that's what we're doing here with the zine. And what's really interesting as well is, if you're watching this and you have an experience with smoking, I would love to hear it, because there's so many individual stories, whether it's a funny night out or a serious, scary moment that somebody has. Let's talk about it. So that's all I have to say about the Smoker Zine. Investigating health warning labels, thinking about ways that we can capture the experience of smoking a cigarette and engage the different senses with our zine that we're making. Thanks for tuning in, and continue to stay curious.